Welcome to One-on-One. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. We're continuing interviews with the City of Salisbury Council candidates, and today we have the big fish in the house, the Council President, Jack Heath from District 3. Welcome, Jack.
Welcome.
So you're running for council for re-election.
Yeah, I am. It seems like we only sat here yesterday, but
Yes.
It was actually 4 years ago.
Wow. I've had you on since then.
Yeah.
But how's it going?
Good. It's going very well. Enjoying going door to door again and talking to the people and finding out how we're doing and asking them what their priorities are. So it's going very well.
What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that they like what's going on downtown. They have concerns about quality of life issues, which is what we talked about the last time I was here. Public safety, economic development and job growth, those kinds of things that affect average wage and attitude, youth development. Certainly they've all said it's a pleasure to watch the council meetings now because we brought civility to the council, which they consider to be very important. Much more so than I thought. I knew that it needed some work, but I didn't know that people took that much interest in it. So I think that certainly the things that we've done have impacted our citizens in a positive way. And that's what I heard. They have some concerns, obviously, about the length of time it takes us to do things, which frustrates me as well. But in general, very positive, good receipt. So,
You mentioned this, and you you guys have plans for all these issues. You're trying to tackle every one of them. One of the things we hear about, of course, is crime. There's a perception that crime is bad in Salisbury. The numbers show otherwise. That there's been more progress than ever, but there's a perception still.
And and I understand why. I think we have to do a better job of marketing what those numbers mean. I'll give you a very simple example. The number of calls are up, but the number of crimes are down. And that seems to be contradictory to each other. However, with the new way that we police and community policing and using data as predictive operations, whenever a patrol initiates an operation like that, it counts as a call. So we're not just answering service calls from the people like we used to do, we're also generating our own based on the predictive policing that we're doing. So that's one of the main explanations for the difference. While the number of calls are going up, but the crime rate is actually going down.
I'm glad you mentioned civility because I got to give you a lot of credit for that. You do lead that council very well, and I used to go on about civility all the time. People would say, no one cares if we're not getting along. It's just a matter of what we're doing. But you need that civil atmosphere to provide that creativity and collaboration to get things done.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. And I think that we talked about last time, that's why I originally ran back in 2014. I got tired of watching nothing get done because they spent most of their time yelling and screaming at each other. And I think we've managed to change that whole perspective. Not that we all get along and agree all the time, but we tend to do it in the work sessions in a very respectful manner. And then when it comes to the official meetings, we carry on business. And that's what we should be doing.
One of the things I enjoy watching is, we have this dynamic mayor with lots of ideas, go, 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 go. You're in charge of the other side of the government. You kind of keep him in checks and balances, but you want to be his partner on these things. What's that relationship like? What's it like working with a guy like that?
It's great. It keeps me young, for sure, just trying to keep up with him. I enjoy it. I think that we complement each other. He's often said that we complement each other. He still calls me the old millennial, which I still don't understand what that means, but I think it's a good thing. But we meet once a week for breakfast, and we look ahead, and we try to anticipate any issues that might be coming up. He'll say to me, "Well, what do you think about this?" And most of the time I go, "Man, that's a pretty good idea, I think." And then sometimes he brings up something, and I sort of give him the dad look, and he respects that. And then we talk it out and we hash it out, but it never gets ugly. It never gets to a point where it hurts our relationship. And I support I support the plan. I mean, the plan is the people's plan.
Right.
It's the one that we developed when we went to SU, and we had all the input from the citizens. So.
Well, it seems to me like you guys are going fast. You're going fast in every direction.
Yeah, we are, and we're going fast. But as I think I mentioned before, I'm from the private sector originally, and when you used to need to get something done, you'd go, "Well, what do you guys think on my staff?" And the staff would say, I think we should do it." And I said, "Okay, go ahead, let's do it." It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So once you get through the bureaucracy of it, we do move quickly. To do some of the things that we're trying to do in the period of time we're trying to do, you tell people, "Well, this is what we're going to do," and people are going, "You're not going to do that." However, we're at a pace that after 8 years, if we all get reelected, after 8 years, we'll be more than 2/3 finished with the plan.
Wow.
And I think the whole idea about that is we have to create the momentum and the enthusiasm so that at some point in time, I'm not going to be on the council anymore. Jake's not going to be the mayor anymore. And if the momentum is good enough, then we'll continue to go down the path that we're going down, which I think is positive. And the other thing is now we're starting to see younger people who used to leave staying in the city,
Right.
and some returning
Right.
from being away for a while because they see what we've done and they appreciate that. And I think that's going to help us in the long run.
One of the standard questions I've been asking, because I hear about this all the time, there's so much focus on downtown, which is terrific, but some people want to say that takes away focus on the neighborhoods. What's your thought on that?
I think that initially that's true. I think we're getting to the point now where once the plaza finishes and we finish Main Street, I think you're going to start to see a little, because it's so much, it's so intense downtown that people don't understand that what happens downtown impacts the rest of the community. Look at the National Folk Festival as an example. That thing spread out. We had people all over the place. And I think that we're going to have high-speed broadband when the downtown is done. We need that in order to expand out to the suburbs. So I think that those kinds of things are in the works. That was the tail end, if you remember, of the plan, because we set our priorities based on a vibrant downtown, the utilization of the river area, and we've done those things, and it's paid off for us. The shows at the amphitheater, which impacts outside of the city, because they can come in for a movie.
Another one of those where I was like, do we really need this?
Right.
And thank goodness we have it.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
To come down and see the place full for a movie.
Yeah.
Free movie.
Yeah.
And then we've had private events there. Certainly used it during the folk festival. So I think we're going in the right direction. Do we make mistakes? Everybody makes mistakes. The thing is, we have to rectify those mistakes quickly. I don't think of any major ones that we've done, but we've had to make some adjustments.
You're pretty tough at budget time. You're right there in that budget, and you question every dollar.
Well, it's our responsibility. I mean, we have on the legislative side, the budget is our biggest task, and I'm generally pretty conservative. And the other thing that everybody makes fun of is that every time there's a budget amendment, I'm like, oh, here we go, and they're going, well, what do you know? And I question them,
Right.
because if it's if it's not an emergency, if it doesn't have to do with public safety, if it's just something that I think, and I voted against some budget amendments, but most of the time there's a dialogue, and we come to an agreement. The latest one was just we talked about the Newton Street project, and they talked about furniture in one of the requests for a budget amendment, and I said, can it wait till next year's budget because we're still developing it? And then he said, no, it's going to be, the building will be finished and they'll be just sitting there waiting for furniture. Well, that's not acceptable either. So those are the kinds of things that we do. But yeah, I'm pretty touchy about budget.
One of the things as a leader, the relationship with the county, it's something you have to deal with all the time. The mayor deals with it, you as council president. You were concerned enough about that relationship that you actually ran for county executive.
Yeah.
How do we stand with Wycomico County? What can we do to have a better relationship with the county?
I think from our perspective, from my personal perspective, I have no issues with the council. I'm cordial with the county exec. I don't see it as much of the day-to-day thing as Jake obviously would, and he gets impacted a lot greater. But I think that, and they could use us as an example. I think both sides got to sit down and talk, and I think until that tension that exists between the council and the executive,
their own house might have some issues.
And I think that they need to sit down and say, hey, look, this is not getting us anywhere. We're sub-optimizing what we're doing, and I think that if they did that, that's the first step. Once you start talking, and once you're free to negotiate in a civil manner, then you can solve anything. But I think that's what they need to do.
If you're reelected, do you have a couple of projects you want to make sure that you get done in your next term?
I like the idea of the youth development stuff. I think that certainly finishing the two, we're about to buy the property up in Truett Street.
Right.
That'll secure that property.
Right.
And then we'll be finished with Newton Street. And I think there's a couple other areas we could probably work on the same kind of a thing. I'm pleased with the fire service the way it is, but I think that we have to start being realistic a little bit about North End and what we're going to do there. I think there's going to be some discussions required for that.
There's going to have to be a firehouse built up there at some point.
At some point, I think there probably is going to have to. I mean, we are in the designated growth areas.
Right.
So it's a question of where do they choose to grow and where it's going to be developed first, and then we're going to have to respond to that.
How can people get a hold of you, find out more about your campaign, reach out to you?
Well, they can call me at home. My number is 443-944-9353. They can go on Heath for Salisbury on Facebook. There's something going on there pretty much every day. And they can always get a hold of me through the government office building and my government email that's posted on the website.
He's Jack Heath. He's the City Council President running for re-election in District 3, and we're thrilled that he had time to be with us here today. Thanks so much.
My pleasure, Greg. Thank you.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent newspaper, special election edition of 101, right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and one-on-one. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.
You can find all of our election coverage on the PAC 14 YouTube page.